On.
Hi.
Welcome back, guys. When we're here for another episode of the DXB podcast that has now had an iteration into the deal room for 2024. And the reason we do that is because not only are we deal makers here, but we speak to entrepreneurs that are putting multiple projects together that are going to be interesting for a lot of people that watch this. So today we have Niki Kerr. She is the CEO and founder of a business with a very cool name. It is
That's right.
Great Futures, if I'm right. And it is dope. Like everything that I've spoken to you about and kind of just creating opportunities for people. I never thought I'd meet people that want to help in the capacity that you do. So I'm going to hand it over to you. Tell us who you are, what do you do, and then why do you do it? That's a little 5-minute intro. Let's hit them hard,
As
Niki.
you said, I'm Niki Kerr. Great Futures has been running for, about 11 years, I think now. In fact, we're Great Futures Global now
Wow.
because the last, 4 or 5 years we have been global. What do I do? I'm a personal and professional development coach and expert. And I call myself an expert because I haven't just jumped into this on the back of a thought. It's something I've studied for, and I'm qualified in all sorts of teaching qualifications. I'm a regulated, I'm a qualified coach, and I'm actually licensed to practice and teach and train psychometric profiling. So I can talk about that a bit later. But why do I do it? When I started this many years ago, about 20 years ago, I was basically a support worker, and I trained other people to be support workers in the drug and alcohol field. And I touched the base of where people were at who've really struggled in life because either they themselves personally or people they know have become addicted to substances and misusing them in a really negative way. Now when you work for
Yeah.
statutory services, they teach you really well how to actually help people change their behaviour. Because to be honest, I mean, it sounds odd, doesn't it? But it's not necessarily because they care, although I'm guessing lots of people do. But it's because it matters to the rest of society that we've got people out there who are getting help, so they're less problematic in society. But what I realised was, for all I was trained to help people who were living on the edge of society, and actually there is a lot of help out there if you can get it. Um, there were also lots of people I came across, and perhaps some of my own memories of being in situations where I'd have really liked to get this support myself. I'm not addicted to anything. I don't fit into any category to get any specific help, but I think we can all use somebody to talk to, and it's interesting. Do
Of
you remember?
course.
Do you remember Peter Wilcox? Peter Wilcox, wonderful chap.
Yeah.
He's been one of my mentors and helped me with my strategy at points. And he says, "Niki, you're like an auntie." And at first I went, What auntie was he talking about?" He went, like the agony aunts. He said, "No, I used to love my aunties, but somebody, a trusted person you can talk to." And I find myself in that position quite a lot. People who particularly want personal, professional development, or maybe they don't even realize until they've had a conversation that it would help with them. That's what they come to me for. And I take them from exactly where they are right now. That's assessing where people are right now and having a word about where they want to be and then fill in those gaps. It's really simple. It's really simple, but it's something a lot of people don't out there and specifically do. They don't do that initial assessment, so they go out and they try all sorts of courses, waste hundreds of thousands of pounds, when really they just needed to know exactly what they needed to be focused on and get that line. In leadership, we call it the golden thread. Get that line that goes from where you are now with everything that needs to happen, everything that needs to take place to get you where you want to be. So that's it in a nutshell.
Wow. So we've got
Take
a nice
notes.
little segment to jump into now. Okay. This is the best part about this. This is where
Oh,
I do
fabulous.
my
Brilliant. Brilliant.
interrogations.
I normally interrogate others, so this is going to be
so,
fun.
look, so look, for people that don't know, anything
Mhm.
about personal development, professional development, seeking advice from an expert. I've mentioned multiple times on the show. Some may be seeing this for the first time, but the first time I engaged with a life coach was on the back end of my then fiance, who I'm no longer with, because she said I'm problematic, which I've heard all my life anyway. And in terms of meeting the life coach, she goes,
Mhm.
"You're just that's your personality.
Yeah.
You're just not fit." Okay. And she basically helped me break up with her. And it basically blew back up in her face. It was fantastic. And then after that, though, what she really dug into was being present, your mindset, meditation, right? Fulfillment, envisage,
Mhm.
start with the end in mind. I'm a big believer of this Stephen Covey's Seven Habits of Highly Successful People. And we'll go into disc profiling. But without personal and professional development, my first was break up with my fiance, transform my life into a physically fit God was the goal, right? That was the vision in terms of body, fitness,
Mhm.
ability, strength. And I got it. I got it. I got married. It was fantastic. Then I said, I want to start a business. And when I started my business, I asked my life coach at that point, Philippa Lennon. I asked her, I want to be a CEO, but I don't know anything about it. The most I've ever been is a business development executive. And I jazzed up all my profiles because that prestige, that reputation
Mhm.
was always important to me. And she helped me fulfill that. And I stepped into it and I became a CEO. I wasn't the best CEO. I was probably a terrible CEO. I loved helping people, but I catapulted my progress, my career, my personal life, my relationships. And then I met a business coach that 10x'd
Mhm.
what was already 10x'd, and his name was Andy Shaw. And I told you about this as elite performance coaching, and it's basically
Yeah.
identifying those wormholes. And instead of saying what are the 10 things I need to do over the next 10 years, what's one thing you can just do this year, right? So without people really explaining, sharing this, understanding, like me and you having that conversation and showing it's possible, they will never know the potential, the opportunities behind what you do. So, in a really like 4-year old breakdown for the snippets that come out of this, how do you define, explain personal, professional development?
Growing to be the best you can.
Elaborate.
Some of us have started life trying to fit ourselves into somewhere, like you said, with your relationship, trying to fit yourselves into something that you sort of molding yourself into, but it wasn't you. When you can become your authentic self and step into where you accelerate your own growth, personality, everything you're good at, when you can step into that authentic space, you can find people who appreciate you for exactly what you are. We go
Oh
through
my
school, and
God.
school
Wow.
tries to fit us into a school society, doesn't it? And that school society tries to fit
Yep.
us into a bigger society. But when we stop trying to fit in and find out and recognize our own skills, and this is where the disc comes in, because I can do your profile and I can help you to really understand what your primary skills are, and actually even find out where you're overusing them sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, that'd
But
be
when
very
when you actually
interesting.
find out what you are really good at, can I tell you a little story? Um,
Yep, you could tell me about
when
100
when I
stories.
first became an executive coach, quite some years ago, I was walking with
Mhm.
a lady one time. I like to do walks, like meet-up walks. You just go walking and rambling over the hills and that. And we were chatting away. There was a big group of us, and we talked quite a lot. And they're only superficial conversations. And I told her what I do, and she told me what she does. And she was in finance. Anyway, one Sunday morning, I got a phone call from this woman I hardly knew, saying, "Oh, for God's sake, Nikki, I've got to see you. I've got to see you. I'm so anxious." And I'm thinking, "Oh, I wonder how anxious this is. Maybe she's needs more counselling than she needs coaching. And I just said to her, let's have a conversation, see what the problem is. And we had this chat, and basically, she was a really, really highly intelligent um, financial accountant, and she was top. She was a bursar in a girls' school. Now, a bursar, somebody
What's
who
that?
looks after
What
the
is
purse
that?
strings in a private girls' school, and
So like a
yeah,
financial
yeah,
director kind
she
of thing.
she was in charge
Okay,
of
all
making
right.
sure all the boxes were ticked when it came to finance, and making sure all the money was coming in and spent in the right direction. However, to be as good as she was at what she did, she had to be very precise, very accurate, and very directive. But she was surrounded by all sorts of people who were in the teaching and caring sort of sector of the world, and they thought she was just unpleasant. To be put it blankly, they thought she was unpleasant. She was doing the job the best she could. And when I helped her to understand that
Yeah.
she didn't need counselling, which is what her head teacher was telling her. She just needed to find a place where she was appreciated, and she left that place after 11 years being there. She left it, and she became one of
Ooh.
the head of finance at a great big conglomerate in the city. I'm not going to name it because I want to try and keep things confidential for her. But the story went on. She improved in massively in her own personal self-esteem. She found herself a partner, and I know right now that she has a second home over by the seaside, and she goes canoeing and sailing, and she has this most wonderful life that she never would have dreamt that she had access to before. She has much better access to her family life, her family who live in different parts of the world. She sees them more, so it was a holistic thing, and it all started off by doing a disc assessment with her to help her to see and understand how her personality was quite the opposite to the people that she worked with, and they didn't understand her motivation. Didn't understand her
Very
motivation.
important. It is very,
Yeah.
very, very important. And so people don't get lost in translation. What or how would you define the? I understand what it is, but let's say a newbie or a novice, explain to them what the disc profile is or the disc matrix. What is that to
Okay, so
to
it's
a
a
4 year
behavior
old?
model, like any psychology. Everybody tries to own these bits of things. It's a behavior model that was first started by a guy called William Marsden back in the 1930s. It determines our personality style into four quadrants, mainly four quadrants, four main quadrants. So first of all, you're either outgoing or a bit more reserved, and then you're either task orientated or people orientated. So whichever of these quadrants you fit in, you can then and as this disc is a brand, there's lots of different names for this. But this is one I use. The D, which is the top left corner, um, that stands for the most dominant
Yeah.
sort of individual. Think of Trump.
Yeah.
He's really dominant, go-getter, bottom
Hmm.
focus. But I mean, he's off the scale. Most people are blends. They're not they're not rude and arrogant like he is. Um, and then you've got the I, which is the top right, which is your real inspirational. You're the person who loves to be around people. Paul Splamiski. Yeah, well, we can say
Yeah.
Paul
Yeah. Yeah.
Smithson for
Yeah.
people who don't know Paul, but we know Paul. Yeah, so can't help but he loves having people around him. He just loves being out there and talking to people. And then if you go down the bottom
Oh,
of the quadrant
fantastic.
into the bottom, let's say the bottom right, so below the I, you've got the S, which is the softer, more harmonic, um, the sort of people who want to be part of the team, make sure everything's going smoothly. They don't particularly like a lot of change. They just like consistency. They're the people who are the steady individuals. And then the C, which is in that quadrant just below the D, that's the conscientious, critical, cautious people. The ones that they're likely to be in more like accountancy or technical sort of roles. So when you understand
Mhm.
which quadrant you fit in, you can start to understand how you communicate, how you think. And I mean, we're all different, but when you can understand the DISC model, we're predictably different. Um, yeah. And
Much.
but you can understand. You can then start to appreciate other people for their difference.
I will tell you, you're 100%. What I was trying to do is, let me do this and blow this up, and then we can. So people, I think one thing is, when you can have somebody explain something to you, and you're like, yeah, I kind of get it, but then it doesn't, like, after they finish, it doesn't click, right? And I'm guilty of that myself. So I want to try something with you, which is based on this. I don't know if you're familiar with these, but these also go into my disc profile. And actually, let me see if I can get my
Oh, we should have
this, if it
done
is
yours
there.
before the show.
Yeah.
We could have put your graphs up.
This is, yeah, it would have been cool, right? So this is called a
Hmm.
motivational map, right? And this is how I'm driven. These are the things. I'm a builder, director, expert, relationships on the left, growth on the right. These are the ways I'm motivated by relationships, achievements, growth. So what I'm doing is, and then I'll send you this, and I just want to go through a snapshot of it, just while you can see while I'm scrolling fast, and how quickly you can absorb what's in front of you, and then based on what you see here,
Yeah, I can see
I'm
that.
a high D. You have an opinion. Well, no, you have an assessment that I would say is, I'm an
I would have
I
said
two,
you're a
or more of
DI.
a. I would say I would agree. I would agree. If you could explain to somebody how you would assess the motivational map that you saw in front of you there in 2 sentences, what would you say? Shane, this is what I understand of you at face value. This is how I
I
would
wouldn't
position
even
my
try
work
to
with you.
understand what that said in 2 seconds, but I can read you anyway because I've been doing this for 15 years. So I don't need the assessment.
Even better. Okay,
I mean,
even
if I
better.
saw one of my handouts or printouts that we have 3 graphs, and I can tell you exactly what I can tell just by this one graph. It doesn't don't need to flick through all the pages. Just by this one page where the graphs are, you've got how you see yourself, how you behave under stress, and then how you see you need to behave given the current environment. So there's, and that's massively important for anybody. I was talking to somebody at the embassy the other night, actually, um, about how important it
Hmm.
is in diplomatic roles to understand the personality, so you don't end up employing somebody who's going to be, a little bit too risque, actually. Yeah. Anyway,
Nothing.
let-
like me.
that's
Imagine me for president.
no, you would maybe that is not the role for you, but see, no, what you've got to
You're
do is exactly what
right.
you are doing. You bring the life, you bring the fire, don't you? But what
I have to bring a
exactly,
rocket up
because
people's bum.
imagine I was now being interviewed by somebody who was like dull and slow and dreary. It wouldn't be a very interesting interview for anybody, and it wouldn't excite me, would it? So yeah, so you bring that. You're the catalyst, really, aren't you? And I think that's exactly how I would describe
You
you
have
in one
to.
word: is the catalyst, because you get the D is the forward
Wow.
focus. Let's get it done quickly. And the I is the people focus. We're going to do it in the most fun way possible. So that's
You're a legend. This is what gets me fired up, all right? This exact thing. So you being able to articulate that, I have always
the
struggled with putting
catalyst.
it into one sentence, right? You always in your head, you're like, it's this, it's this, it's this. The next day is this. I change my headline on LinkedIn 700 times a year, sometimes twice a day. So it's just because my mind was racing. But the ability, and this is where expertise can shine, and you've just proved it. The ability to uh, basically describe, identify a personality, a profile in 2 words, that's like absolutely mind blowing. So, the next thing that is really important for people to see on this is a simulation environment of what Nikki does on screen. So, we have our conversation to get this bit of personality. We've talked about great futures, an example of one of your clients, one of your customers, one of maybe a newfound friend that you've really helped. If people come to you and say, I want to work with you, and you say, let's jump on a call, we're going to go through X, Y, and Z, do you have any type of screen share or a website that you say, hey, look, this is not to show you I'm this. This is just a little bit of context that you can go back and digest some information after our chat here. So do you have anything like that, or do you have like a 1 minute explainer that you kind of say, it's this, and this is what you
Okay,
get at the end of it?
I do have a website. Obviously, that's www.great-futures.net. And that explains my background. I mean, the reason I think you mainly have to have a website these days is for credibility, isn't it? So as people can, just see you
Yeah,
a real person. But obviously, most of what I do is on LinkedIn, because I'm one of the top voices on LinkedIn for coaching and mentoring. Um,
yes, you are.
that's quite an interesting thing. That's you can become that just by contributing in your expertise, in your area of expertise. But yeah, what I always say to people is, I only actually take 5 individuals on every month because I work with them so intensely. I can't I can't hold more
Of
than that in my
course.
head. Yeah, I'm not going to be one of these people who dilutes the quality of what I do because I want millions of people on board. I don't. I do other things. I do disc days and disc sessions and all that sort of stuff, which brings in enough revenues that I can
Hmm.
allow me to just bring on 5 new clients a month, and I normally hold people for 3 months. But 3 months is the gem.
Okay.
After 3 months, the honeymoon's
So,
gone
all right.
really, and people start to get a little bit complacent. But for the first 3 months, people are going to be generally really hot on the case. Yeah, yeah.
Fired up. Yeah. Okay. So on that. So for let's say now we're going to flip it for there's an audience that is going to want to use your services and find
Hmm.
out more about who Nikki is, and they'll go to great-futures.net. And in terms of the coaches that want to follow you, they may be too nervous to approach you right away, but they want to kind of follow the journey and they want to understand, okay, if I was to go about this by myself and look at a model similar to Nikki after proving credibility, brand reputation, you let's say you start the year off
Hmm.
January, you have 5 clients. It goes 3 months. So do you have 15 clients after the 3 months because
Yep,
you're bringing on five more as well
that's
as
right.
the regular customer base? Do you have like a lifetime, not lifetime really, but you know what I mean, like lifetime kind of clients who are always with you consistently, one or two people? And then obviously you have people who jump in and out, which is just the normal twos and throws of business. Um, what would you say for a coach that is looking to become a personal development coach? What kind of financial model should they be implementing in their business to be successful?
If you say what sort of financial model, yeah,
How to get
yeah.
paid?
I just
How will they
there's
get
there's a
paid?
there's a
Put
great
the
deal.
lights
There's a
on.
lot of coaches out there. There's people qualifying from the coaching academy. Same one I did. Constantly massive place, biggest coach training company in the world, and they are brilliant actually. But when you come out of coaching, don't expect massive money because, to be honest, you're not going to have massive value to somebody else in your first few years. And I think this
Very
is
true.
something that I hold quite dear, is the fact that, and you know yourself, the more experience you've got, the more you can offer people. So yeah, you will have to get those
Hmm.
postgraduate qualification hours up, and start out there at your £35 an hour or something, and just get as much, do what you can for people. Everybody can help somebody in a life coaching situation if you've learned to coach, because by learning to coach, you learn to listen, you learn to be non-judgmental, you learn to probe and to get the best out of people. So I mean, these are the general qualifications you get just by getting somebody who's a qualified coach. And whatever you've gone through in life, you'll be able to coach other people about that. If you've gone through it, you can come out the other end. So you can start on something that you just know back to front and get more conversant with being able to coach. because there's a lot of difference between
Mhm.
coaching and mentoring and advising people, and you have to be specific about what I think what model you're using as much as anything. I use a mixture of life
Mhm.
coach, of coaching and mentoring, because if you're in a business situation, it's everybody talks about themselves as being a coach these days. No, they're not. They're not. It's an over. It's an
That's why I say
overused
far
word,
from
isn't
it
it? But
now.
it's okay. It's okay. It's just a popular word.
It is.
But you can't coach somebody. If you're a pure coach, you'll be asking people questions and getting them to discover themselves and answer the questions for themselves. But I could annoy you to death by keeping asking you questions how to do something if you didn't actually know how to do it. So sometimes you need to be taught how to do something, or you need to be mentored how to do something. And then the coaching helps you to bring out your spin on things and how to get over your own blocks and put in place what you know you can do. So, first of all, I'd say when you come out of coaching, make sure you understand what model you're using. Get as many hours on board as you can and under your belt. Get as much experience as you can, and then slowly start to, increase your worth. And many people out there,
Let's say
well,
how so on that, sorry to jump in on that one, just while it's there, um, at what point so when do you know that your value has increased to a point that you can charge instead of 35 as a baseline example, you can charge 70? At what point do you know that?
I think when you're confident to coach people who wouldn't think twice about paying £70 a month, £70 an hour or something,
Okay, and how do you find those types of
I think
people
those
then?
type of people are probably all around you. Um, it's it's like any networking. It's about asking people what their challenges are, and if you can understand what their challenges are, and you know that you can help them, again, it's about being authentic. I mean, there are people. I'll give you an example. I know I'm deviating here a bit. A lady, a lady, a lady,
No, so
a lady
carry, we've
came to
got
me
plenty of
last week.
time.
So I took on last. No, it's about 3 weeks ago now. Gosh, yeah, time flies. New client of mine just came out of the blue, jumped on somebody else's stuff they were talking about on Facebook, and they messaged me privately. And again, I thought, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to help this lady. But actually, I know loads of people, probably like yourself. You can't help somebody, you're bound to know somebody who can. And I thought maybe it's going to be for somebody who was more into therapeutic stuff than me. But by listening to her
Yeah.
challenges and asking her where she wanted to go in the future, we really flipped this around. And I said to her, look, it's not counselling. We're forward focused in coaching. Are you ready to go forward? And so I could
Mhm.
understand then, I know in my head exactly how to change her life and how to get it where she wants it to be. But then I had to qualify her. She's an older lady. I had to find out, does she have the income for this? Because I'm not a £35 an hour coach, not by a long way, not by a long way.
I
Um,
know
but I will
that.
change her life, and in a way that she is, just in awe of what can happen through coaching. And so once I qualified, you have to be honest. You have to ask people. There's no point leading somebody up a garden path, then throwing a figure at them that throws them off the chair. Um, so yeah, just ask them, find out, are they qualify? Do they qualify financially? If not, you might be able to pass them over to somebody else. But I think it's about being authentic and honest.
You know what? My whole life, I have tried to fit in with the crowd or be part of the cool crowd. In some cases, it's been a good thing. In some cases, it's been very bad. Even now, I would say I am in the podcast community, if you must say, if that's the right way to say it. Um, I've found out that, not bragging, but I have doubled the subscriber count of some of the leading agencies in Latin America, in North America, and in the UK. And that's with 9 months of
Mm.
complete grind, right? And the grind came from the authenticity to say, I'm not a CEO. I'm not of a big company. I don't want to have hundreds of people. I have no interest anymore in employing people, as bad as it
Mhm.
sounds. I'm happy to be, this is the thing. This is my authentic self. I sent an email to one of my clients yesterday, and the subject line was "the porn video is out." And it was just, here's the videos for your podcast. And his reply was, I have never been so scared to open an email in my life. He said, thank you so much for a great Tuesday. And this is the thing I love. Like, you can't say that to people. Then I'm on a sales call the other day, and typically you have to be so uptight and everything, or just even authentic and just kind, professional. And somebody was just talking. I said, listen, mate, you're talking rubbish. All I'm hearing is excuses. This is what we need from you. This is what we are going to give you. This is what we're going to give you. This is what we need from you. That's it. And again, after that, it's like, wow, I didn't know you were like that. Like, you're a funny guy online and like on camera kind of thing or in person, but when you're in business, like
Yeah,
it's the real deal, and
yeah.
that's my authenticity. And the way you like kind of put that, or just emphasize the importance of it, you're so right. So we'll wrap that little piece up, and I want to put something into perspective for somebody who wants to go on a coaching journey. Follow your page, go to LinkedIn. You're always posting online. Let's say 100 hours a month would get somebody £3,500 a month, which is that's decent. In terms of breaking down that 100 hours, that would be 25 hours a week, which is not that bad. 25 hours a week could be 5 hours a day. You could probably do that. Would you say, above that, what else should they be focusing on in their first year? That being the goal: 100 hours, £35 a month, get themselves established, get credibility. After 1 year, they can double their price, knowing that they have testimonials, reviews. But what's one other thing that they should focus on to be successful, as well as being authentic, in that first year of creating this business of their dreams?
I think making sure that you're around other coaches, so you expand your knowledge. Um,
Okay.
Obviously, continue to read.
hmm
I know, there's a lot of people have got books up there, and it's shelf development rather than self development. So yeah, it's not about buying the books; it's about actually reading the books. Um, but I
and
think
applying
also
them.
you've got to discover what people actually are asking you for, because at some point you need your niche. If you're going to go out there and market yourself properly, you need a niche. Um, and So you have to start to try and recognize who you serve best. And if most people don't, I didn't know this for years actually. And I didn't get paid masses of money for years because I didn't know how to market myself. But it's one thing knowing how to coach people, but it's another thing knowing how to market yourself. And a lot of coaches don't realize that business is
Oh
about,
yeah.
if you're not earning money, you're running a hobby, aren't you? Um, so you
It
really have
is
to start to
very
learn
true.
who you serve best, because there's no point thinking, I actually really want to serve that community if you don't know anything about that community. Just be the best you can be at your role. It doesn't have to be a flash. Like you've just said, it sounded good to be a CEO, but actually you're not so good at being a CEO. You're good at being who you are.
I fucking
Yeah.
hate it.
You're going to get minted by being who you are, aren't you? If that's what your
Yes.
goal is in life. A lot of coaches, their goal isn't strictly about money, but don't let that stop you making a living from it. And you're only going to make a living from it, as I say, by understanding who you serve best, getting better at that, and niching down and learning marketing. And you're not going to learn marketing by just grabbing, a book off a shelf and reading that. You're going to have to talk to experts who know about marketing. I mean, you know about marketing. I know about marketing because we've been in the entrepreneurial world for years. But you need to really understand how you're going to get yourself out there. Otherwise, you're going to be the best kept secret.
I will I will shine a light on that a little bit more and tell you how important it is from my experiences to have an understanding of marketing. So in 2020, when I began the thought process of building a company, the idea was to go speak to, again, how I've done this. The overarching goal, the marketing plan, the marketing strategy was to go and interview people and speak to them about their businesses and how they build companies. Okay. And Marcus Kauke, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he was my mentor, and he was our chairman for the entire time, and he told me go read this book. Which one? Jesus Christ,
Oh,
Marketing Rebellion,
going to write
and
that
then
down.
there's another one. Yeah, that's a really good book. And then another one that he told me, eat their lunch was a good one. And then I'll send another one, but it blew my mind. The first marketing ad in the world was a prostitution
Okay.
ad for a brothel.
No, I didn't.
I don't know if you knew that. It was a sign on. It was a engraving in a brick with an arrow pointing this way, and that was considered dubbed the first style of marketing to drive an audience in a certain direction. And then I told him I just invested in Cognism, which was a database provider that gives you access to 400 million contact profiles, 16 different data points. It's GDPR compliant. I thought the, I had hit the gold mine. Little did I realize half of that data was
Really?
inaccurate, out of date, and yes. And as much as it is, look, that's one of many. It is the leader, in my opinion. But still, 50 to 60% of all these database providers, they're sourced from one unique hub, one public domain, and all the details are pretty much the same. The only thing that changes it is whatever their API, which is their technology glue for people who don't know, is what that API can pull from their public profiles or what's available online. Okay. Now, back onto the piece about marketing. For 3 years, we built a cold call center to help service companies break into tech enterprise accounts, farm enterprise accounts, whatever the case may be. Not once did we focus on marketing. Our marketing ended up being make 100 calls a day, direct access, speak to 100 people, get the 2 people a day. It was the worst decision of my entire uh,
Go on.
3 years because it cost me a ton of money. Our cost of customer acquisition at one point reached £63,000, which is 4 to 5 months of a team of 6 to 8 people constantly on the phone, not producing results, complaining that it's the market or something. And then I get on the phone and book 3 or 4 meetings in a day in a couple of hours. So again, it came to a point where I wanted to market, I wanted to do interviews, but I was not scared. I was fearful and what's the right word when you like cautious. You don't want to do it because you're afraid
Okay.
like what people think of you. And because of the team I had around me, a lot of 2 or 3 of them were close friends. The other ones who really looked up to me and admired me, those are the ones who were kind of like my ambassadors. But the kind of pressure of, oh yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. Oh no, I don't think that's a good idea. All of that is now happening now. And in 8 months, my following has grown from 8,000 on LinkedIn alone, with all my other profiles I deleted because my wife didn't let me have a social profile where women would like, even just people who are a million miles away in other countries, on other continents, she'd have a problem with that kind of stuff. And the best thing to do is just say, you know what, I'd rather have this okay and less stress and move that away. But the point I'm getting at is for 9 months now, where it's been a clear coast, I've marketed myself, produced videos. As I produce videos, found software that helps me 10x and amplify the content I currently have, then position content on scheduling platforms. I'm producing over 200 different posts across 8 platforms a month. Almost 1,000 pieces of
Mhm.
content are going out with my brand. from one person. Okay. And this is the power of marketing where now people email me, Shane, I've seen your
Hmm.
podcast. This is amazing. Shane had so much fun on this podcast. I never thought I'd have so much fun on a podcast or go into that level of detail and not talk about business
Excuse me.
because it's not what it's about. And if I had done this years ago, it would have changed my life. So coaching and having a good marketing campaign is very important. What's the one marketing strategy you would say start with if, let's say, January 1st they're gonna give this a go?
If you're going to do anything online, you've got to get visible. The best way to get visible is to show how powerful you are at your subject. The one thing I would say is, obviously, you've got to think: are you B2B or B2C? Because B2B,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be on LinkedIn. B2C, you might be on the others. Um, and to be honest, it can be a bit of
Yeah.
mix, can't it? Because I know, I mean, I'm all about LinkedIn, um, but I do play about a bit on, and I
Mm-hmm.
do call it playing about as well. People get to know me as a person on the other channels because I put family stuff up, relatable stuff, and obviously it's all about Christmas. It'll be all about food next week, and then it'll be all about the clothes that don't fit. So it'll be all relatable. But yeah, it's different. As I say, so decide, are you B2B or B2C? That's the first decision you've got to make. And I would say start with one strategy at a time. And I know some people are all about getting all the followers out there, but I'm going to tell you something. If I can remember his name, Paul, is it Burstow, the guy that does oh, the guy that does Love Island, the relationship guy, Paul Burstow. Burstow, I think
Okay.
his name. I don't
I don't
much, but
watch
he was one of
TV,
our
but
speakers at one of my
I'll
business clubs, and he was telling me, or telling us as a group actually, um, that he and his wife started in America. They started a YouTube channel where they were just interviewing sort of each other about relationships and just chatting away. And after months and months and months, this is some time ago, but after months and months, they'd only got 11 followers. And he said he reckoned half of those were his family. And then one day, after about 6 months, when he and his wife were thinking, oh, God, we're going to knock this on the head, who phones him up? Oprah Winfrey's PA. She'd been one of the people who had been listening. So you never know who's listening. So it's not about followers. You never know. Just put
it
your
was exactly
quality
right.
out there. Oprah was looking for somebody to sit on the couch with her, and that's who he became. The guy that was sat on the couch with Oprah. And that was the start. And now he's, one of the leading relationship coaches on TV and around the world. And it all started because he
She
consistently just did this YouTube stuff. And so it's not about having millions of followers. But obviously, it's good for your credibility because somebody's going to look at you, aren't they, these days, and
of
they're going to think,
course.
oh, he's only got half a dozen
Yeah.
followers, or a couple of hundred or something, but this person's got loads more. But that's
Mhm.
different. So I would say start looking at whatever is your main channel, build that up, build your credibility on that channel, and interact with others in the same sort of industry. And when people are commenting, on LinkedIn, people comment on those posts, get into a conversation with those people who are commenting. An authentic conversation.
Of
Yeah, an
course. That's what
authentic
I've been trying to do
conversation,
now.
because you're going to have things, and don't be put off thinking that you're in competition, because you're not. You're always learning, and there's space for all of us out there. So that was more than one thing. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at just one thing.
It's fine. Look, I told you there is no time limit on a good conversation. Before we go into the next piece, though, I want to ask you, for those that don't know, and I'll tell you even right now, for me, I'm just literally just, um,
Yeah.
I'm creating content and just posting. I don't do anything about scheduling it at 9 o'clock is the best time. I do not give a flying fuck. I'll post now instead of posting. They'll say do one a day, do two a day, do three a day. I've got 9 or 10 posts on rotation every day now on every platform. I don't care in terms of what's this, or I just want to get it out there, right? I still don't have a good understanding, and I think that's one of the things I'm going to do this weekend. And I've got this book. Hopefully, he gives me some
Okay.
credit, even though I don't know
What's his name?
him.
Daniel.
I don't know if you've heard of
Lift
this.
it up, Daniel.
Have you heard of this? Daniel
Daniel, no, I
Disney.
don't know Dan. No, go on.
So this is called the £1 million LinkedIn message. He's one of the like biggest people in terms of B2B sales influencers and slash coaches on LinkedIn. And he wrote this message because he built his empire
Yeah.
on the right type of messaging, understanding the right things to do. Now there's new algorithms. What would you say? Or I would recommend people look at that book, even though
Mm.
I've read maybe 1 or 2 pages. That's the God's honest truth. It looks good on the shelf, like you said. It's collecting dust. What would you say would be the go-to learning for getting yourself the right exposure on LinkedIn? And I'm kind of understanding where it works, but over having to go to their about section and their kind of FAQs
I'll be
area.
honest. I found an expert. I found an expert to help me. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So what now? This person doesn't have the budget to
Look
hire
at
an
everybody
expert. So what do
else's
they do?
LinkedIn profiles and copy. I don't mean. I mean copy the style. I don't mean cut and
It's
paste.
right.
Copy the style. Yeah.
No, of course. Look, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, and I think that would really, really help a lot of people. That is, well, that are going to go on this journey. So, along the journey, you have found a number of times
Oh,
points
you're
where
not
you want to
kidding.
give up, points where it's too hard, right? And a lot of people, a lot of my risk or my evaluation of risk came from family members in terms, not my mum or dad. My mum and dad always supported me. My brother, sister always supported me. But extended family who were surrounding me here in the UK. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, that sounds like rubbish. Oh, da 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 da. You'll fuck up. You'll do this. And thank God, I've crushed all those doubts beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm so proud of it. But for those that want to hear it from kind of a different perspective, somebody more experienced, what was the most profound failure that had the biggest impact in your life and how it helped you learn and approach things moving forward?
I'll put that in context, so because there's, like many people, I've had all sorts of failures in life. But in context with the coaching and what we're
Yeah.
talking about, I would say that go back pre-COVID a few years, maybe 2017. Um, I was changing the fee. I was changing my client base. That's what I was looking for, a more executive client base, because I started off, working with who I knew in the health and social care sector. Health and social care. This is the other thing. Make sure your clients, before you put your charges up, make sure your clients are going to be able to afford it. Because some people just don't even think in the same sphere as you.
Yeah, that's good.
Um, so I'd got incredibly well qualified. I was very well experienced. I'd researched leadership globally for over 2.5 years. There wasn't much I didn't know about leadership and
Okay.
engagement and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and hit the corporates. This is where I belong. But I didn't, because I didn't know anything about marketing. I was I wasn't getting anywhere fast. I was still solving lots of problems for people. Um, in the health and social care, in the educational world, because I was an assessor as well in education. And it got to a point 2017 where I was making so little money because I'm too benevolent. I was saying to people, oh, never mind, I'll do it anyway. When they couldn't afford my fees. And I was really struggling to pay the mortgage, really struggling. And I thought, I'm going to have to just get some marketing. And yeah, I sold my house. But my kids were saying to me, Mum, just go back to teaching. I went, no, just go and do some assessing. At least you'll be able to pay the mortgage. I didn't want to just at least. I wanted to grow. I wanted to be bigger. I wanted to do what I knew I could do. Um, and I was actually fed up
Hmm.
of helping people out of holes in education where they weren't really doing a very good job. There's a lot of glossy websites out there that aren't actually performing as well as I would have liked them to perform. Anyway, that's another point. But yeah, I decided to sell my house, and it was traumatic. I think I probably went through the menopause at the same time, which like Didn't know at the time. I just thought I'd gone a bit loopy. I
Mhm.
thought it was all stress. Um, and I think, I think I was clocking at some points, but I was really stressed because I knew where I wanted to go. And you know that fairground game called whack-a-mole where you put the head comes up and you whack it. That's what it felt. Every
Yeah,
time I felt I'd got my head above the parapet, there was something going on. And I knew I couldn't coach people at that point
yeah.
because there was something going on in my own head. I was too stressed and I needed to sort out my own problems. So I stepped away from all sorts of things, all sorts of very good contracts actually that I was starting to get, and I just honed in. I did some education around property. Thought I've always known how to do things in property. When I sold my house, I made some investments, made some more
Hmm.
money, and I just resigned myself to the fact that I was going to have to get some very good mentors, some very good coaches, and I did. I've paid over the last year. Where are we? We're to end of the year coming now. I've probably over 50K this year in coaching and mentoring myself. You know, if you're going to grow, you've got to do it properly. If you're going to if you're going to
You're absolutely right. Grow or die.
invest in yourself. That's one of the biggest and best things you can do. But yeah, for a couple of years there, a lot of my family thought, "What on earth are you doing, mother? You're selling the house. You could just go back to work." And I thought, "No, I can't. I can't do that. I've got to do this." And that was my determination coming out. But it was hard. It was hard. Yeah, took over a year to sell the house, and I didn't have any income coming in at the time.
Well, look, again, I think that's where just exactly how you said it. Your kids thought, Mum, just do this, just do this. But there's always that burning desire inside that
Mm.
like people like us, and there are people out there, but they're just scared. They're just scared to take that leap of faith in themselves, not in anybody else, but in themselves. And when you get that burning desire to do it and to carry on, the money does not
No,
mean
and
fuck
you and I
all,
both being
absolutely nothing.
entrepreneurs, we know you've got to be around people who think like that. Entrepreneurs think, entrepreneurs think very
You
differently to
do.
people who are in 9 to 5. Because if you don't out get money, there isn't any.
They do. They do. I'm gonna introduce. Look, and on that note, like just in terms of connection on Coasted, right? And so I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget it. But you know how you said that person he only
Mm,
had 11 followers or whatever, and it's not the importance of those followers; it's the
mm,
quality behind the individual, right? And I'll give you an example. This year, I've met over a hundred, like I said, podcast guests, incredible guests. I've had 100 learning experiences, 10, almost
wow.
10,000 hours of content in a year is a huge, huge goal for me. Right. And I met somebody literally last week, and it's again, I need to be doing a little bit more research about my guests now because they are getting bigger without me even knowing. Finished the episode, was building his summary, the description, and then I do the links, and then I go into their websites, and then I get all the hashtags that are relevant, and then I go to their other socials, and I do a whole kind of campaign, and I'm coming across this guy's profile, and he's got 117 likes on almost every post, thousands, five figures, 10, 11, 12,000 views on different thing, and I'm guilty of looking at the 8, 9,000 he had, which is a little bit less than me. So I'm thinking, how can we kind of align and do this together so our 20,000 combined can get us to an equal stature or an equal point in terms of just brand exposure. This guy yesterday sends me 8 referrals.
Something went well.
8 referrals. I was like, oh
Hmm.
my fucking God. And I just said, mate, how can I tell me anything you need right now? I will do anything you need me to do. I've never had that experience in my life. And it just goes to show you, like, you're like, holy crap, like when you go through it, and it has been so hard. There's been times where I thought I was gonna crack up. In June, I had a breakdown, right? In June, I was almost homeless. My mum and dad were helping me. I told you my wife took my child and everything and did all these claims, and one morning I woke up and I was like, I can't do this. I drove so fast to the doctors. I told them what happened because I read a report of what my wife said about me and a bunch of lies about like me in terms of uh, I take medicine for a surgery. He's dependent on this. He's aggressive when doesn't have his medicine. All this shit. I'm like, I have no. This is the first time in my life I don't have control over this situation, and I'm being like lied about, and like my child is in the middle, and I wanted to give up, and I broke down in the office. I cried my eyes out, cried my eyes out. It was the most amount of like release, like you know that waterfall of release when you cry, and I haven't cried in years, and they sent me to the like just go get an assessment in terms of seeing your mental health crisis kind of thing. And I went there and spoke to them, and they said, just look, it's normal. Do this, 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 and this. And I almost gave up. I was like, maybe just fuck it. Who cares? I can't do anything right now. I'm stuck. I'm against the grain. My mum and dad were like, "You got to fix up. Like, you got to get some money behind you. This is not. We can't keep doing this. Like, you got to either make a choice to be together or not." And month by month, I just had to muster up the energy to get on these calls and meet person by person after person and interview guests and then iterate and speak to more people. How should I do this? How should I do this? How do I grow this? And it literally so boom. And the fulfillment of doing what I love, what I enjoy, number one. Number two, 9 to 5. Time in my world, this is why I'm going to introduce you to Townsend Wardlaw. Time doesn't exist in my life anymore. Other than a meeting or an important in-person interaction like this, I don't operate on time. I went to sleep at 6:30 a.m. last night because I was working all the way through. Woke up at 12, started working again, already on podcast now with you. I'll run this till 8 o'clock in the evening. And I don't have anything that's like you have to do this or it's pulling me in any that other direction. And that's what perseverance, resilience, determination, discipline, courage, my integrity, happiness, fulfillment, that's all come from the ability to go through that rocky journey. And for those who do go through this and are like, I want to give up, mental health for men is really, really tough. And I can imagine why, because there's horrible people out there in the world that will prey on your
Yeah.
demise. They want you to fail. Then people are so naive and thinking like, no, I just didn't. No, it's
Mhm.
real. It's fucking real. And people will try to break you down. And then people saying, oh, he's going to commit suicide. He's on drugs or something. And I thought, you motherfuckers. I'm fine. I'm going through a crisis right now. I'm going through a hard time where I've just separated from my wife, and you have the audacity to go and resort right there. Fuck you. Watch. I'm going to show you guys. And then I did this, and then said, you know what? I'm going to make it happen again. Boom. Hit my after a turmoil, crazy, crazy year. The only goal I had was you have to break 6 figures for yourself, not because of anything other than you did 3 years of 6 figures. You have to hit it this year, and I did it. I did it today, and I was like, well, sorry, yesterday the money came, and my God, like Nikki, honestly, the power you can probably hear and the power in and the kind of drive and energy behind it. I
Mhm.
fucking love this shit because of that. And the journey is much better than the destination, as they say, which is why I have this one. Remember why I started Don't Give Up. So I want to ask you, in 10 years, after knowing what you know now, right? Most people will go backwards in life, but I want you to go forward. And in this particular scenario, it's Tuesday, 19th of December. It is what time? I don't. I'm very bad at reading analog clocks,
Well,
even
it's
though I have
probably
an Apple Watch. I need to
33.
change the face. It's 3:11. Okay, so in
Mhm.
2033 at 3:11 p.m. today, you're interviewing with me. Tell me what you're doing exactly at 3:11 p.m. in 2033. What does your life look like? Are you at home? Are you on holiday? Are you living abroad? And possibilities are endless, obviously, but give me one walkthrough summary of what Niki Kerr's life looks like in 10
I'm a
years.
water baby, so I'm going to be by. Might be by the sea, it might be by the river, but I'm a water baby.
Me
I'm
too.
not too far from the river, even as we speak, but it won't be. I do like this area, but it might not be in this area. But what will I be doing? I'll be writing. I love to write. I absolutely love to write. Um, I also still want to be coaching my clients because if I'm not exposing myself to people constantly. You just said 100 hours of learning. When you're facilitating learning for other people, boy, do you learn some stuff. How did I learn all about corporates? By coaching corporates. That's what- how did I learn about leadership? By teaching leadership. I teach leadership and management, but I still want to be coaching. Um, and I think by the time, another 10 years, I will be more involved with helping, because I love to help high executives get over their blocks, because it doesn't matter how high you are, what you're doing. I mean, I used to be the coach for the United Nations, so I've worked with a lot of people who've been in incredible stressful situations, um, and that's the level I really like to help. Those people who are already really good at what they do, but they could be so much better if they
Mhm.
just, like you said something earlier, and I was thinking, yeah, that's when you pull the cork and you go, "Ooh," when you just relax. So when you do that and you've got somebody to talk to, about somebody confidential that you can talk um, to get across all these things
Mhm.
that you're worried about, because everybody, it doesn't matter what you're doing, doesn't matter where you are, we all have our own worries. They're just a little bit different to somebody else's. We have our own concerns. So I'll be writing and I'll still be doing executive coaching. That's what I'll be doing. And I will be probably by the sea.
It's
Probably by the sea.
incredible.
Do you know where I'd love to be? Sorry,
I think, look.
this is I've just thought of it now. Do you know Poole in Dorset? Oh, it
I
is.
don't,
There's
but it
some
sounds
beautiful
nice.
beaches down there. Maybe that's where I need to be. It's not too far away.
I'll tell you, there was a client I served when I was selling oil and gas webinars, and her name was Bettina Shadow. And I was always speaking to her because I wanted her to be a client of mine. They were a company called Amatech. They were actually right around the corner from us. And I said to her, I want to go by the beach. She goes, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in London." She goes, "Have you ever heard of Penzance?"
Cool.
And I said, "No." She
Yeah.
goes, "It's like fucking Spain. It's a beautiful beach, turquoise waters." I said, "Fuck off, you're lying." She goes, "Go on your computer." And this is a cold call. She goes, "Go on your computer now. Go on your computer." And I said, "Oh my God." And you know what? Now that I think about it, it's cold now, so I won't go now. But that's on the bucket list for next year. I'm going to be, wherever you go, I'm going to be right there with you. So, as we come to an end, right? One thing that I love about interviewing people like yourself and just doing this is executable strategies that people say, "I watched your show, I did this thing from the guest you had, Nikki, and I'm doing this now." Right? One of the greatest things I heard from my employees was, "Shane, thank you so much. As a result of working with you, I'm not on the biggest salary I'm on, but I was able to buy my house." And I said, "Mate, if I can help you, I can buy 10 more, I'll do that too." And then he tried to fucking sue me. So, it happens. But what's one thing someone can start today for free, and tomorrow they recognize the first stages, clues, avenues
I'm
of
going to say,
results?
and I'm going to say this because we're coming towards Christmas. I'm going to say, work on yourself to understand the relationships you have around you. And going forward into Christmas, we're going to have a lot of different people around the table, many of us. I know I have. And they're going to be people with different personalities. So if you can just draw that cross, wherever I can do it here, draw that cross. So can you see that? So draw that cross and work out,
Yes.
are you
Yeah.
outgoing or are you more reserved? Are you task focused or are
Okay.
you people focused? Find out where you are.
So hold on, outgoing and reserved is top and bottom, and then
Yeah,
left to
write
right
this
is
down. Yeah,
yes, because we're going to put this up there, and you can share a diagram, and I'll
I'll
put a
give you
link to
one
it
when
when
but
in our
people and
little
people.
yeah.
Right, so that's it basically. Can you see that? So you're either outgoing
Yes.
or you're reserved,
Okay.
task focused. You
Okay.
know, you're task focused, bottom line. Yeah,
Okay.
you're slightly more there, but you see, you're probably over here because you're also people focused as well. But then you can work out whether
Yeah.
you're a D, an I, an S, or a C. You can actually get lots of this stuff on YouTube, but D, I, where are we? S, and C,
Okay. All right. I see. I wrote it the other
and
way around. Wow. Okay. Is there a specific reason, Nikki, it's written in
yes,
that order?
because your D is an outgoing task focused individual, whereas your I
Okay.
is your outgoing but people focused. But we are blends, so you are a blend of DI. So you're here. I would say you're probably slightly over on the D more than the I, but you're quite high as well because you've got big personality. You're not shy. I'm not saying people down here haven't got big personalities, but not in the same way. But say, for instance, you've got somebody who wants to be in charge. They want to be getting things done. They haven't got time to listen to what's the favourite programs on TV. They want to,
Bullshit.
you know, over in the D section. They just want to get things sorted. And you've got somebody who is over here in the steady individual. So you've got cross individuals. You've got people at the opposites. Be patient. If you're highly focused going forward and you want to get the job done, but you've got somebody who really wants to just make sure that the rest of the family is sorted and everything's fair, then you're not dealing with awkward people, you're dealing with your opposite personalities. And I'd say going forward into Christmas, start looking at yourself. Who are you? How do you come across to somebody else? And can you just be a little bit more compromising and have a really lovely Christmas?
It's like meditation, this thing. So, Nikki, where can people find you? They want to be a client, they want to learn, they want to get educated. Where do they go to find you and
Best
get
bet
more
really is to go
information
to
on who you
LinkedIn.
are?
Go to LinkedIn because I spend a lot of
Okay.
time on LinkedIn. Niki Kerr, obviously, Niki Kerr, um, and obviously, if you want to
Hmm.
find out more about me, you can go to my website, which is www.great-futures.net. But just find me on LinkedIn. Then you can talk to me directly. You can send me a message. I'm always open to having calls with people like this, one to ones over the Zoom or whatever it is, and just listening to people. And honest to God, if I can't solve your problem, I will know somebody who can, and I won't try and pretend that I can solve your problem because that doesn't do me any credibility. It doesn't do you any favors. So yeah, start off on LinkedIn.
You're an amazing person. Anybody who is listening to this, I do this for these exact reasons. I get literally chills and thrills running through this program. And what I mean by the program is every year we're going to interview between 100 to 500 CEOs, entrepreneurs, and give people a chance to get educated on different questions, not all the fluff. It's not perfect. I don't want people to think everything's easy.
Mm,
I want you to know the hard stuff, the things you're going to struggle with. Because if you know the hard shit you're going to come up against, when you do come up against it, it's not a surprise and you're just like, you know what? Let me fucking just run through this. As long as it's not a gun that's pointed to your head, like you do not have to stop anything, right? In terms of as much control, and it's maybe frowned upon. I'm sure it is. Yesterday, I cut up £5,000 in credit cards. I owe money on them still, but the perspective and the image in my head of every time I get money I pay these bloody credit cards and then I spend on the credit cards and have to owe them again. And then I'm kind of short on the other side. So this time I said to them, you know what? You guys don't want to help anymore. I keep telling you that I'm going through a situation. I've paid it off every 3 months. I just pay the whole balance. But just cancel my card. I cancelled all my cards. I cancelled all my overdrafts. So the image of being in negative doesn't exist right now. And I will pay those in terms of a payment plan and get it sorted. But 2024 is about me being in control. I'm not in a negative mindset in any way, shape, or form, even on paper. Whatever they think, it's just another company. You have to do the right thing, but you got to get yourself sorted. And if you're not sorted and you're living on other people's pressures, on other people's time clocks, you're really going to do some damage because you're never living for yourself. And that's what the problem is behind like today's society. So until next time, Nikki, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Stay on for a minute. I'm gonna push stop and then it like uploads. But like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and there'll be many, many more in 2024. Until
Yeah.
next time,
Merry
I will see
Christmas.
you again.